Hey, it's JJ Virgin, and welcome to the JJ Virgin Lifestyle Show, where I give you the latest cutting-edge intel to help you look, feel, and think better. Now, today's show, I'm going to help you cut through the confusion about detox. Actually, I'm not going to do it. I brought on my pal, Dr. Ann Shippy, who is an expert in detoxification, to help us cut through this confusion. And it's all going to start with how she got involved with it, which I'm going to let her tell you herself. And we are also going to tell you how you can test to find out if you've got an issue with toxicity, and some simple things that you can do today that will start making a difference immediately. Let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Ann Shippy. She's honestly on a mission with toxicity, and a lot of that has to do with her hero's journey. She was an IBM chemical engineer, and she started having all these health problems. So she left engineering and went off to medical school. Like, how many people do that? So she goes off to medical school at University of Texas Medical School. And when she got through that, she still wasn't getting the answers that she needed for her own health. So then she went in and started studying and got certified in functional medicine. So she has gone deep into now focusing on toxicity and all sorts of different toxicity, everything from prenatal to mold toxicity, and really realizing that this is the key issue that's impacting all of us, which you'll hear more about today. So I am super excited to have Dr. Ann Shippy with us today. All right, let's do it. Dr. Ann Shippy, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here with me today.
Oh, I'm excited to be here. We have lots to share.
Yes, you do, my friend. So I have the good fortune of knowing you now for several years, and also knowing a bit about how you got to where you are as a doctor, transitioning from being an engineer into a functional medicine doctor specializing in toxicity. And I always find it fascinating to see what got someone where they are, especially with your story. So I'd love you to share that journey that you've been on to get to here.
Oh, thanks for letting me share. I was a chemical engineer, so had lots of environmental exposures for my first 10 years out of college, and I ended up getting really sick. And it was before the internet was in place, so I really had to investigate outside the box because none of the doctors that I visited were able to help me. So after reading everything that I could with books and seeing lots of different types of healthcare providers and naturopath and nutritionist and acupuncturist, even energy worker kind of thing, I finally figured out what I needed to do to get better. I had gotten down to well below an acceptable weight, and it turns out that the people at IBM really thought I was dying. I looked so sick. But it was so awesome because that got me inspired to change careers and was able to go to medical school. And when I finished with medical school, I was kind of tired. I knew I needed to do something to do additional training outside of my traditional medical degree, but I had a baby in med school and a baby in residency, so I needed to just focus on my family. But then 3 years later, after being in a small internal medicine practice, I got sick again. I developed a couple of autoimmune disorders, one that increases your risk for having strokes, and then one that makes your eyes and mouth just so dry that it's very, very uncomfortable. So that got me on my path to really doing what I wanted to do, which was something beyond traditional allopathic medicine. And again, by having to figure out how to get myself better, I learned so much more about how the body works. And that's when I did my initial functional medicine training.
Well, I'd love to even look at that because, so here you are, you were so sick, you're in a traditional medical school. And I mean, did they ever talk about, I would think with toxicity, it's really more about acute exposure to something. It's not, long-term exposure and what it can do to your body.
Right. That's what we learn in medical school is what to do with an acute poisoning, like if you got exposed to a whole bunch of pesticides all at once or a whole lot of mercury or something like that, to recognize those symptoms. But we're really not trained about ongoing toxicity and how the environmental toxins can build up in our body and cause things like autoimmune disorders like what I had. So at that point, I had grown up on tuna fish, and which now has, it has a lot of mercury in it. I had a mouthful of amalgam fillings, as well as all my previous chemical engineering exposures. And I think I just got really depleted having two children and breastfeeding both babies for a year. I got very nutritionally depleted, along with having ongoing chemical exposures that were continuing to build up in my body.
You know what I'm so hopeful about is I think back to 5-6 years ago when I was writing The Virgin Diet, and we were trying to decide what to call it, because back then people really only knew about food allergies. It was like, okay, someone can't have peanuts, so, but they didn't understand that you could have this low-grade reaction and intolerance. And I really view toxicity the same way. It's like right now we think about someone being exposed to something and, that acute dangerous risk, but the majority of people, it's not that at all. It's the same type of thing where you've got all of these low-grade symptoms and no one's talking about it, and no one's really testing for it or doing anything about it. You're a crusader, like a pioneer in this.
Well, and it's so amazing what I get to do, whether it's people just coming in with minor issues like they're getting more tired or they're having headaches or brain fog, they're gaining weight, having menopause symptoms or premenstrual symptoms, even things like infertility. I can actually do testing and that kind of thing to show the links with their toxins. But then even more severe illnesses like MS and Parkinson's, the autoimmunity, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, a lot of times that is at least a piece of the puzzle and why people have developed those, pretty severe chronic illnesses.
So how would someone know if this is an issue for them? Like what are some of the things that someone should be looking for to identify this?
Yeah. So if you don't have access to a functional medicine doctor that can actually run those tests, you should probably almost just assume that you have environmental exposures that have built up in your body. And especially like if you've had just a deterioration over time, like even something like weight gain, like if you've just realized your metabolism isn't working anymore, you're eating the same, exercising the same, sleeping the same, all the things that can impact your metabolism, then more than likely it's that you've kind of met that threshold of when environmental toxins are disrupting enough of your biochemistry and physiology.
Yeah, and that's one that's so key because, you store toxins in your fat and then your body says, I better hold on to this so that I don't make you worse. And so your metabolism slows down. You're holding on to fat. You can't lose weight. And the people around you think that you're lazy and eating. And it couldn't be further from the truth. But
and especially on that topic is when people do kind of figure out, oh, okay, here's a diet that I can do that'll help me lose weight. It's so important to help those toxins exit from the body rather than just getting redistributed to other places.
That is a key one, and one that is not addressed that I think is so critical is that really when you look at it, anytime you're losing body fat, shouldn't you really be focusing on supporting your detox pathways? Wouldn't it be dangerous otherwise?
It really can be. And I think that's one of those things that really isn't discussed and so important for people to know.
So let's look at it because, there's so many. This is one of those areas that can make you a little bit crazy. I'm sure it makes you crazy every day because you see these like juice cleanses and all these different things out there. And people think they can go on like a 3-day cleanse. Right? So what does someone what is the problem with things like a juice cleanse?
Yeah, so a juice cleanse has multiple problems. So for one, you can't do a juice cleanse long enough to actually really do anything significant with detoxification. But more importantly, the detoxification pathways need a lot of different nutrients. So when you're actually kind of starving yourself, you don't have the amino acids and the other minerals and vitamins that your body needs to be able to effectively get them out of you.
So then if someone's doing something and they're feeling worse, not better, this is not a good sign, right?
Exactly. When you're detoxifying, you should feel okay, at least okay, if not better. Yeah.
And so someone listening, like you said, you can go to your doctor. Like, first of all, I think you pointed out some of the key signs, autoimmunity being a big one, fatigue, inability to lose weight, cancer, heart disease. I remember hearing the NHANES study where they were talking about, we assume that people who are overweight had a higher risk of diabetes, but they said in those studies that what they saw was that they only had a higher risk of diabetes when they had higher levels of toxins. It was the toxins that were causing the hormone disruption. So
I love that study. I think that was really a great one, and that we should be doing more of that kind of thing with those kinds of studies with a lot of different disorders.
Well, but how would we, it sounds like, because I'm trying to figure out how someone wouldn't have toxicity issues, because we're just confronted by toxins in our everyday life. I mean, give us some examples of the different places where we can be picking up toxins so everyone understands how commonplace this is.
Yeah, so it can be, just in our air. So that's one thing that we don't have a lot of control over, other than, trying to put help a filter into our homes. It can be things like, what we put on our skin and hair. So we absorb toxins through our skin. And then even in our food. So here's a cool story. So with a patient that I did some testing on a couple months ago, she came back super high on a whole bunch of environmental toxins. And one of the things that we did, we just had her do an organic diet for a month. And many of the toxins went down in just a month. So really having, getting the healthiest food that you can.
And how are you testing? What are some of the ways that, the best ways that you would have someone test for toxicity?
Okay, so if you don't have access to a functional medicine doctor, there are a couple of tests that you can just ask your doctor to add on to your physical. It's not that sensitive, so it won't tell you what the levels are, but it can tell you if you're starting to have some liver damage or if your liver is working extra hard. And that would be something called a GGT, a gamma glutamyltransferase, an ALT, which is alanine aminotransferase, and an AST. So most physicians are familiar with these tests, but they might not test you for them each year. But then if you have access to a functional medicine doctor, you can test for things like how high your heavy metals are. So that's a challenge test where you take a chelating agent and you see how much metal comes out, so you know what's been stored away in your body. And then we can do blood and urine tests for things like pesticides and solvents and even glyphosate. So glyphosate is that's Roundup, so that's being spread on a lot of lawns and things like that, as well as it's in a lot of our food. And I'm seeing super high levels in some people with that.
And what's the best way to test for glyphosate?
That's a urine test. And it can also be tested for in breast milk.
Oh, that's horrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we're actually seeing that moms are passing that along to their babies. So especially when women are nursing, it's so important to be eating as organic a diet as possible.
But these would have been already there, and right? I mean, these are things that then. But
it can especially be high, if you're eating more of it. So it can be stored away. Like I've eaten an organic diet for, mostly organic for the last 10 years, since I had my autoimmune issues. And my levels were still higher than what I would have liked or I would have expected, even after all of this extra detox that I've done and all of the careful eating.
And one of the things that strikes me, because no matter how perfect we try to be, and I always look at it and go, okay, the first thing you want to do is try to get anything out of your life that could be toxifying you. So everything from your laundry detergent to your skincare to the food. But the problem is we travel, right? So, we're traveling and we're in different hotels and your skin's a sieve. So you're using different water and breathing different air. So you're still going to be subjected to this stuff. So what are some of the things that you can do that someone could start right now listening to help them be a better detoxifier? Because it strikes me that this is something we really need to do every single day, that we should do these focused detoxes for sure, and especially work with the functional medicine doctor the sicker you are, but that these are all things that we really need to be doing on a daily basis.
Yes. So in addition to avoiding as much as you can, so especially if something has an obvious odor or something like that, you can do a lot with your diet. So eating foods that actually support your detoxification systems, it can be huge. Like I get to test these things with patients. So things like eating onions and garlic, eating a lot of things that have spices like turmeric and other herbs, eating a lot of cruciferous vegetables. I think you probably talk about cruciferous vegetables a lot. So things like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, kale, arugula, those really support the liver and detoxification. And then having a really good, clean source of protein like grass-fed beef or organic eggs, things like that. And then my favorite, like if I'm going to have people just do one thing to help with detoxification, I love liposomal glutathione. Because the way that it's absorbed, it goes right into the blood supply and helps to remove some of the most important toxins like heavy metals and pesticides. Yeah. I know. I've turned into a liposomal glutathione connoisseur. We carry about 10 different forms in the office, and I'll use different things with different people because we'll find that somebody will be able to tolerate the taste of one more than the other. But we finally do have a liposomal glutathione in a capsule rather than a liquid, because all of the other 9 are in liquid form. So you have to taste them.
It's an acquired taste, right? It's an acquired taste.
Yeah, I actually don't mind it anymore. I kind of like it. It's amazing how your taste buds will change. So for those people that are listening that are like, oh, I just don't like broccoli or cauliflower, I think if you just, find ways to introduce it into sauces and soups and things, you kind of get so that you like it.
It's interesting. I'm a super taster. So there are just things that there's no way ever, like raw broccoli is never happening.
Yeah, well.
George Bush. That's not happening. All right, so we've got specific foods, and those. It's interesting. I was interviewing someone on how to shrink your fat cells today, and like the same foods that help with detoxification are also the same foods that help with shrinking your fat cells. So it's amazing how these foods just keep showing up, like turmeric and garlic. So get them in. What are some other things that?
So, one of the things that I found a few cases of that have been really important is how lead can be hidden in things. So I've had a few patients that they actually had lead in their dishes or some type of bowl or casserole dish that they had no idea, and the food can the lead can leach into the food and then go into their bodies and actually have really high levels. So one thing they can do is go on Amazon and buy a lead test kit. And there's a little strip of paper and a developer, and you just touch the test strip and to the whatever you're testing and put the little dropper on there and see if your cooking materials have lead in it. Because even sometimes the very nicest brands can have lead in it.
All right. I know you're giving us a quick start guide, so hopefully
we'll put things like that in there. And then one of my other big things is I see a lot of high aluminum levels, and I've found that one of the big sources for that is just regular store-bought deodorant. So it's really important to find one of the natural deodorants that will work that doesn't have
suggestion. My son just was actually had an acute toxicity with aluminum, and as we've been reading about it, I've been just reading about long-term aluminum exposure and what it can do just in terms of your mood and make you feel angry, because he became really angry. I'm like, wow. But I just started to realize how many people are being exposed to aluminum on a regular basis. And I've yet to find a deodorant that actually works. So, got any suggestions there?
We will put it in the quick start guide, because I have found one, and I think it's the brand is something pretty obvious, like Healthy Deodorant, and it's a lavender scent, and so it actually does work pretty well for most people, and we'll definitely put that in the guide for you.
Fabulous. Okay, everyone's listening, going, "What guide? What guide?" So Anne has created a detox quick start guide. So a lot of things you're hearing right now, if you are driving and going, I did not write all that stuff down, do not worry. He has put together a quick start guide so you'll know what things you should be eating, what things you should be doing. Because again, these are things that you need to just incorporate into your life. You don't have to do all of it tomorrow, but just start to incorporate these things in. These are the little hinges that swing the big doors. And detoxing is probably going to be the biggest health issue that we have, going in the next decades, don't you think?
It is really the biggest thing that I see, and especially since we're getting all this research now that's linking toxins to these to most illnesses is at least a piece of the puzzle. And I looked up a statistic for you that I want to share. So get your head around this one. There are 21 billion pounds of toxic chemicals released a year. 21 billion pounds.
Uh-oh, where are they going?
Yeah, they're going into our air, the land, and our water. And so that's a worldwide number. And that is disturbing in itself. But 4.5 billion pounds are known carcinogens. 4.5 billion pounds they already know that they're carcinogens, and a lot of the others we just don't even have the studies yet. So if you remember what happened with BPA and BPB, the plasticizers that are in the plastic water bottles and really almost all of our plastics, they were around for so long before the evidence started coming out that they're endocrine disruptors. So there's so much more to be discovered and learned about all these things that enhance our quality of life, but we don't really know how the net of all that manufacturing and putting them into our environment is going to affect human health.
Well, here's the other part of that too that's so critical is they study toxins one by one, but we accumulate toxins. It's not like we just got that one, Roundup pesticide in us. We've got a whole bunch of stuff. We've got fluoride and bromide and Roundup, and then you get this milieu of toxins, and it's a mess. So that's the even scarier part. And I know we were talking offline, and you were like, I don't want to scare people, but honestly, I want our listeners to understand that this is a massive issue. It's our biggest issue going that isn't really talked about because it can be overwhelming. But if you put these practices in place, again, grab the quick start guide, then you will not be another statistic with all this stuff going on. So it really is one of those things that we have to all actively be using air filters, water filters, and getting organic food and eating lots of fiber and all the things I know that you have in the quick start guide. So that will be at jjvirgin.com/Dr. Shippy, and that's spelled Shippy, Dr. Shippy. And I want to throw a curveball question at you.
Okay.
I not warn you about. And it's this. So what's the one thing that you do every day that you feel makes the biggest difference in your life?
Oh, the thing that I do is I I meditate at least 5 minutes every day. I think what happens is, we're so, we're just so busy all the time. And then we have all these things happening around us, listening to the news or, something's happening that's not good with family or friends. So our bodies are continuously getting this message that it's not safe. And so then all the chemicals that it produces are, put us into a state where it's much harder to recover. So what I found is if I take that 5, ideally 20 minutes a day, it's like a reset for me so that my body can know, okay, it's safe. And some of the resources can go into, healing and recovering and prevention rather just on the burn side, getting things done.
I haven't told you this, but I studied with Emily Fletcher.
Oh, I love her.
The meditation, and this is day 10, and I've been doing 2 sets of 20 minutes a day.
Oh my gosh, I'm so impressed. How do you feel?
It's amazing. And she said, you will have more energy and be productive. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this for 30 days just because I don't want to tell her I didn't do it because she'll be mad at me because she's a good friend. But I will tell you, and here I am, I run 2 companies, got kids. My wedding's coming up. This could not be a crazier time, but she is absolutely right. 20 minutes twice a day. The dog is doing it with me. And my fiance and the dog, we're all meditating. He's actually, my fiance is being like the meditation police. So it's helpful, but it has made a massive difference in 10 days. I cannot believe it. So
what I love about meditation is just setting the intention that you're going to meditate is all it needs. Like I'll have patients say, oh, I'm not very good at meditating, or I'm too busy, I can't meditate. But even when you think you're bad at it and that it's not going well, it's still informing your body what to do, and there's still huge benefits. So, and it's not hard to learn. There's so many apps out there now, and of course, Emily's program is amazing. But there's no reason not to find at least that 5 or 10 minutes a day, and then ideally the 20 to 30 minutes twice a day if you can.
Yeah, you can. And so I love that. I'm glad you brought that up because that has been a massive game changer for me.
I'm so proud of you. That's really awesome.
So I thank you so much for joining me, Anne. So awesome to have you here. Such a huge, important topic, and I'm glad you're taking a stand and going out in the world with it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to share this important information.
All right. Now, after the break, I'll be answering the listeners' questions, so stay with me.
When you make a small change to something you do every day, the impact over time can be huge. And when it comes to breakfast, you don't want to blow it because your breakfast sets the pace for your entire day. That's why JJ created the all-in-one plant-based breakfast shake to start your day right. Whether you are a vegan, vegetarian, or just looking to consume more plant-based foods, this breakfast shake is for you. It comes in 3 delicious flavors, vanilla, chocolate, and chai, and helps give you sustained energy, cuts cravings, and can melt pounds from your waistline. Visit jjvirgin.com/products to shift your fat loss and energy into high gear today.
Welcome back. This is the time where I answer a listener's question, and today's question is from Sarah in Scottsdale. And she says, JJ, what are your top foods that you think everyone should be eating? And I'm going to answer this one because I know I asked this with everybody, practically everyone coming on the show. I'm like, okay, what are the top foods that you think people should be eating? So I love that she threw this one back at me. So Sarah, it's interesting because just even today, as I was interviewing guests, I see the same food showing up for all sorts of different reasons. Like I was interviewing Lori Shemick, Dr. Lori Shemick, and she was telling me about using curcumin to help with shrinking fat cells. And then I'm interviewing Dr. Ann Shippy, and she's talking about curcumin to help with detox. And then I think about how much I love curcumin or turmeric because of reducing inflammation. So, when you look at a lot of the foods that most of us out in the health world seem to love, they work for so many different things. So let me tell you a couple that I dig. And Dr. Ann talked about cruciferous vegetables. I love broccoli and Brussels sprouts and kale. I don't love kale, but I eat it. So I'll be honest. I love broccoli and Brussels sprouts. I endure kale because of the amazing detox properties of these veggies. And of course, they've got good fiber. And then I also think that avocados just rock the world because of the healthy fats, but also because they're loaded with fiber. So that's super cool. I'm a big fan of squashes. I just left my house in Palm Desert and I left my son there with some butternut squash noodles. And he was like, "Thanks, Mom." And that made me just like ridiculously happy. But I think squash is one of the most amazing foods out there, loaded with nutrients, especially a lot of carotenoids in some of the different squashes. I love kabocha squash. If you've not tried this one, oh my gosh, so good with some grass-fed ghee on it or a little coconut butter. And then, of course, wild salmon. Couldn't not talk about wild salmon. It's something we eat a couple times a week here. I get mine from Vital Choice. Shout out to Randy Hartnell, who's just a rock star, and where I trust my fish from. I do love lamb. So I'm kind of vegan. I eat clean protein that's pastured or wild or grass-fed, and then loads of non-starchy vegetables, and then a little bit of slow, low-impact carbs. But I think some of the biggest nutrients that are so important to keep in that we don't think about are herbs. And both my interviews today mention them. So I'm just going to do shout outs on turmeric or curcumin, ginger, cinnamon, cayenne as just some key nutrients that you could add in. But I'm going to give you a bigger concept to think about. And that is, we talked about organic today so that you don't get those GMOs, you don't get the pesticides. I think seasonal, local, and organic. Seasonal, because that then will make you rotate your diet. I recently moved up to a really cool house in Rancho Santa Fe, and I have an orchard. So I actually have tomatoes, apples, lemons, avocados, persimmons, pomegranates, some of these things. I was like, what is that? Figs. And so what it just shows you is that when things are in season, eat them, right? So we have food transportation now, so we're getting food all over the world all the time, but you really want to eat local food, fresh picked, so that you keep those nutrients intact, and seasonal. So focus on that. Get to know your local growers and farmers. Support them. Super important. And same with your local ranchers. Like I get most of my stuff from Butcher Box. I have my monthly box delivered to me with my pastured pork and pastured chicken. So highly recommend that. All right. If you want to leave a question for me, if you'd like to ask one, best places to do it. Best of all, Facebook. JJ Virgin Official. Pop on one of my Facebook Lives, jump on, ask questions. We answer them there too, but then I find the ones that really fit in with whatever I'm yakking about on my podcast, and I pull them over there. We also get questions, pull them off of Instagram, and of course through our customer experience team. So wherever you want to hit us up. We love those questions, and I love engaging with you. And another place that I love checking out what you've been saying about me is on my iTunes podcast. And I take every week, I like to do a shout out to someone who's left a review on iTunes. And this one is from Delicious Alex. Delicious Alex, my girlfriend, Alex Jameson, who is just fantastic. And she says, great inspiring advice and info. JJ is one of the best diet and food sensitivity experts out there. Simple advice, passion, and real heart. Great show for those who want to get fit and feel great. And thank you, Alex. And if you're not following Alex Jameson, she is definitely one to follow. Just a brilliant, awesome human. So thank you so much for joining me today. And got a lot of information in this podcast. The biggest thing I'm going to remind you to do is grab something and do it, because this stuff only works if you work it. Alrighty, until next time, make it a great week. Bye-bye.